it reduces learning over that entire year by 1%. And that notably also disproportionately impacting Black, Hispanic, and low-income students, with a paper estimating that heat accounted for as much as 13% of the racial achievement gap in America. And I'm talking about this now because we're just a few weeks into the new school year and we're already seeing firsthand evidence of these heat-related disruptions. Right, last week we saw numerous school districts across the country being forced to modify their schedules because of lacking or non-existent cooling systems, with districts in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and so many others either closing down entirely or dismissing students early as millions of people were under excessive heat warnings. So clearly, this is an incredibly serious problem that is only getting worse, but there's not enough movement to actually fix it right now. And part of the reason for that is this problem is so widespread and addressing it is insanely expensive. The 2021 infrastructure bill set aside $500 million to close the funding gap, but experts estimate that $38 billion is what's actually needed. Though in some places, funding isn't even the issue. For example, you have things like one teacher in Philly telling reporters that his school actually bought air conditioners a few years ago, but then the district told them, hey, you can't use that because those units are going to put too much strain on the grid. So they're just sitting in storage unused as you have kids suffering. And honestly, this shouldn't be a surprise because when infrastructure is not addressed, it does what it does. It slowly crumbles.
Honestly, I don't even understand this argument. Parents must be fully involved in students' decision to change pronouns, Ontario Education Minister says. Honestly, I don't even understand this argument. Why must parents be fully involved? Why must parents know that their children go by different name and pronouns at school? Like, I legitimately don't understand the necessity. Well, let's talk about it real quick. I am under the fervent belief that you don't actually care about children. You don't actually care about school in general. I understand. I understand that one person's voice speaking on issues when it comes to education ain't really going to move the needle because everybody has the same problems with it. I would like to let you know right now that these problems are self-imposed by us. There is no solution to this. There is no solution to this query that I'm about to provide that isn't just we treat people in education like shit. But the query I'm about to propose to you is why do you need to know about your child's gender? They literally can't survive in the schools that you're leaving them in. And then you have teachers there who are dealing with real world ramifications of what's not being taught. So if it comes up or a kid is questioning or brings it up, we're accepting and generous. And all of a sudden, like, you've got a little bit of an issue with it. Puzzles me. Makes me feel weird and awkward and lost. Because if I'm not mistaken, it can't be me that's locked in a moral dilemma on how to solve the issues in infrastructure. You don't want to sit in a hot ass room for a training session for a dumbass job that you can pull off in 5 minutes. But you do it because you get paid for it. Kids don't get paid to go to school. We pay in our taxes for the schools, but the taxes aren't going to the schools. They're getting funded for the people that are not. Like, the conditions in schools, I used to say this a lot being a teacher. I used to wonder, like, why don't parents ever consider their kids being hungry and that affecting them during school? How often do we feed them? How often do they have water available? How often, there's a whole level of quality of care, this and that, like a world beyond a world in which we expect school to be not only for what we went through, but for what kids go through before, what we as kids used to see older kids talk about. All of that seems to have dissipated into one pool of just central knowledge where nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. That's deeper than I want to go for this part, but that is a part of it, and effectively we're going to have to hit it there. Our educational standards are also much lower because a lot of kids know a lot of stuff a lot quicker due to social media. More importantly, TikTok. You can find out about what the fucking CIA did. Just a couple. You can find out about what the CIA did, and half the other places on fucking YouTube. Thrown into a goddamn VTuber episode, comedy skit. What do you do when the populace is ahead of you? What do you do? How do you craft like, oh, kids these days, they don't know how good we had it. We used to play out in the streets, da da da, this and that. But when I was growing up, you were the ones who would be like, yeah, stay out of them streets. Them shits is dangerous. It's not safe out there anymore. Who made it that way? Why was it one way at one point and now it's another way? When you are faced with a never ending conclusion, how do you restart the engine? How do you restart faith? It to me feels like the never ending plague of we respond to childish issues. We respond to childish issues as though we are supposed to automatically know the response because we are adults. That is what we were taught as children. And if you weren't taught that, you were groomed to be some type of super adult, obviously. For the immigrants, it's always to leave a better life than we led. And be bot. The time knife. We've all seen it. Yeah, we've all seen the time knife. We've all seen it. Yeah, the time knife. We've all seen it. That was one of the last episodes I made in season 4. That was one of the last episodes I made on season 4. Was time is a flat circle. Time is a flat fucking circle. Anyway, being a teacher, I kind of feel this need to respond to what children's identities are while they are learning. Because I don't think that a lot of parents or people who became parents had an experience with school that wasn't dissected further. And it's going to lead into the college pipeline. And this is going to be honestly, this part of the conversation here, and I'm going to end it here. Because I'm just doing this for the clips. Honestly, this conversation here leads me into part 2 of why you peaked in high school. Part 1 is being edited. We're seeing how we're doing that right now. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this here because at this point we're gonna hit the during. And we're going to have to talk about how you were raised during it, the type of mental health, like what a fight you saw, if you had guns in your school, like, and it's going to lead to school shootings and the era of teenage angst in the 1990s. It's going to be a lot. Anyway,